Hello Linux lovers, my name's Wimpy. Welcome to my world, an unusual Tuesday live stream. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, this was originally streamed live on twitch.tv/Wimpy's World. So if you'd like to join in with the rest of the community, then head over to Twitch and give us a follow there. Good morning, Paul. Hello, how are you? Right, this is a continuation from Friday where I started working on building and packaging OBS Studio 28 for a beta 1 for Ubuntu. Yeah, so we're going to continue with that. I did a couple of bits in the evenings over the weekend, overcame some of the issues I was having on Friday. So what we're going to do is take a look at that build process, what I've learned. Then we're going to install, hopefully, OBS on a couple of different versions of Ubuntu and test out that new version and make sure all of the package requirements are in place. Good morning, Phil. Hello, Esme. Welcome back, Padza. How are you all doing? It's been exciting times here. One of the reasons I wasn't online yesterday is we've experienced first and second world problems with the heat waves in the UK. First world problems being no air conditioning working. Second world problems being intermittent electricity. And then third world problems, no electricity. And then yesterday, the joy of no running water whatsoever. So yesterday was exciting. So I hope everyone else is all right, staying cool. It's hot again today. The computer is working hard. I can see the temps are up again. Boy, I wonder if I can. I'm gonna underclock the CPU. There we go. We'll bring the CPU down to minimum power. Hopefully that will be fine. That's immediately dropped the CPU temperatures by 20 degrees. We don't want thermal shutdowns midstream like we had a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, well, we managed to buy a load of bottled water, so I think we're fine, Esme. Right. Water's a bit more of a problem for sure. Yeah, I bet it is, Esme. What's the temperatures where you are? How are you getting on? Right, let's have a think about this. Where are we? So let's start by taking a look at well, in fact, let's just refresh this. I was experimenting with a new if this then that rule, and I've no idea if it's worked. So I've put two of these in here. Ahaha. Right then. So I think we've got a winner here. Oh, this is interesting. Look, it actually puts a video link in here whilst it's running. So I think this notification will throw away for being a bit bobbins, and we'll keep this one. Look, because it actually embeds the video whilst the thing's going on. That's pretty nifty. How cool is that? Right, okay, moving on. Right, this is all going to get linked up to this OBS fully loaded thing at some point, but at the moment OBS 28 is really raw, and as I said on Friday, the transition to Qt6 means that most plugins will be broken for the short term, so need to tread carefully. So I've been building OBS 28 in this PPA called Zombie, which I clearly label at the top here. This PPA will break your system, let's make no bones about it. If you're not me, don't use this PPA. The changes since OBS 27 in terms of how I'm building OBS, the main one is there is the capability to use SRT and RIST protocols in OBS now. None of the mains, well actually, Twitch and YouTube don't use SRT or RIST. Some of the more niche streaming services do. These are low latency, high resilience protocols. So whilst I'm not going to be using this with Twitch and YouTube, I have used SRT for doing site-to-site video ingest in the past. So I'm building this in. and I'll talk a little bit about what was involved there. It wasn't too complicated. But this is sort of a copy of the text from the other PPA. So in here we've currently got 3 builds. We've got a backport of librist to Jammy, which is 2204. All of the necessary protocols exist in what will become 2210, this build here. And so we've got a build for 2004, 2204, and the current dev release. Well, not even a release, current development version. The differences between 2004 and 2204 are quite significant. The 2004 version is still using Qt5, whereas everything since 2204 uses Qt6, so that's quite a big difference between the two of them. So need to test both versions on those releases. The Wayland support has obviously come on quite considerably in OBS, so again that's something we need to test in this 2204 release as well. And the other difference is that the 2004 release doesn't have the SRT or RIST protocols built in, because backporting those libraries is just more work than is reasonable, I think. So I have got builds, and these date stamps here tell you that I uploaded this build at midnight last night, and I haven't actually installed them, so we will find out how these work. So the purposes of installing these is to figure out if there's anything in the packaging that isn't installing everything that's required to make OBS work, because that transition to Qt6, I have had to make some changes to ensure that everything works, everything runs, has all of the runtime dependencies installed. So we will get to installing this, but let's just...
Thank you for the follow, Optica1.
Hello, Optical. Well, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. So, I've got my script here, OBS PPA. I'm just going to knock the volume down a bit because it's quite loud in my ears. I don't know how the mix is coming out on the stream, but that seems a bit loud. So I unified my scripts. I was working on 2 versions of the scripts, but what I've done now is I've pulled them together to a single script that can build OBS 27 and 28. And this is so I can see where the differences are between the 2 builds, because what I want to do is feed back some of this to the OBS team, because I've noticed that there is a beta build of the official OBS in the OBS Studio PPA, but when I tested that I noticed there's some dependencies missing from the packaging. So I want to figure out where that packaging exists so I can submit pull requests and also let them know what I've seen. So this is doing much the same as before. It downloads the Chromium embedded frameworks, the AGA camera SDK, and the Debian packaging for OBS from Debian. And what this script does is augment that Debian packaging. I've found that these are much better ways to reset and clean the Git repos to get much cleaner tarball builds that I was looking for. And then what we do here is this is basically creating a source tarball for the Debian packaging that I use that includes OBS plus Chromium embedded frameworks plus the AGA camera SDK. So this is basically creating a tarball that can be built into OBS 28. And that's the tarball bit here, which we build excluding any Debian packaging. And that's so this tarball can be used by can be used to build on Focal, on 2004, on 2204, and so on. So a single source tarball. And this piece here is where we actually create the Debian packaging for each Ubuntu release. So we loop over the current supported releases, Focal, Jammy, and Kinetic being the code names. We extract the Debian packaging that we downloaded, and then everything from here on in, we're basically augmenting the Debian packaging. And I'll show you sort of what that looks like in a moment. A lot of this stuff is as it was the other day. I've noticed that there's a new flag, so CMake, which is used for the OBS build tool, has been completely, all of those rules have been completely rewritten for OBS 28. So there's a new option here to say I'm building in a PPA, which is specifically for Ubuntu, which basically does the equivalent of enabling these things, but in an OBS 28 way. We're doing the usual things with Chromium. I've tweaked the way the AGA SDK is bundled slightly. We enable the streaming services, and then here is where most of it happens. So if we're building on 2004, we then supply a bunch of additional build packages here, and these are mostly to support Chromium embedded frameworks. But then these two were introduced as required for OBS 28, but we'll include those regardless. And then we add this runtime dependency, and this again on Focal 2004, it's only going to be Qt5. So, but we do need to supply this runtime so that people that have Wayland can run this on Wayland. And then we have to downgrade a few things on 2004 and disable Pipewire because that's not compatible. So, you know, it's getting to the point where Focal's old enough now where you really can't turn on all of the features that you need or want, maybe. And then this is basically turning off the new MPEG transport. So that's basically turning off the support for SRT and RIST in the 2004 build. And then for the 2204 and 2210 releases, we do much the same thing, except up here we supply these additional packages here. As you can see, this one is for the RIST protocol, this is for the SRT protocol. We then do some replacements on package names to make the transition to Qt6. And then I discovered last night that in addition to the Wayland platform, what do they call them? I forget exactly. Qt platform something. Anyway, there's one for Wayland, and I couldn't run it at all on X11, and I found out that the QPA plugins were entirely absent. So this is what I've also noticed on the official packaging, so this will need adding as a dependency.
Thank you for the follow, IkiwiXZ.
Hi, IkiwiXZ, that's an unusual name. Welcome to the... or Ikiwix, is that better? That might be it. Welcome to the stream. And then, so OBS 28 has Pipewire support now, so we make sure that those plugins get installed appropriately. And then if we're building on an older version, so if we're building like 27, for example, these packages are just changed ever so slightly. So I think that's most of it. And then a change that I make here from the Debian packaging is that they ship the libcurl built about GNU TLS, and I've switched that to OpenSSL because that follows the upstream guidance and also means that the SRT protocol that we bundle also built against OpenSSL. So this bit of software, this build of OBS, is only dependent on one cryptography library, not two. And another change that I've made from the Debian packaging, because I couldn't understand why I kept finding VLC installed on my system. It turns out VLC is a recommended package in the Debian, the actual Debian packaging for VLC. And when I was working on the Snap, what I was doing was just bundling the appropriate libraries and plugins, because what this enables you to do is include sources processed by VLC, but you don't need the whole VLC application installed. So I've changed this to just make the libraries and plugins of VLC dependent packages rather than all of VLC. Some plugins had their names changed in OBS 28, so we tweak those accordingly. Install the AGA plugins, install the Ceph runtime, and then in order to stay closer to upstream OBS, I then remove some of the patches from the Debian packaging. So this is just unwinding some of the patches that exist from the Debian packaging so that we try and stay closer to upstream. What I'm working on here isn't anything that I'll be contributing to the OBS project. This is the means for me to understand precisely what has changed in OBS 28 since 27 so that I can be more effective in suggesting packaging changes in the upstream project. So Paul is saying that he's not a fan of the heat. Yeah, it depends like where you are. Last Thursday we were down at the beach and we were swimming in the sea most of the day, and the sea was cool. I'm not going to say it was cold. It's not warm by any stretch in this country, but it was definitely cool. But you know, being in the sea on a day like today, quite agreeable. Being in here with computers and things, yeah, not so great. Okay. So that's the script that's building all of this, and if we just take a quick look here, let's just drag this down. In this directory is where everything gets built, and if I just make this a sensible size. So this is effectively like the directory of assets that gets created, and the packaging is here, and I suppose the important bits are really the control file and the rules file. The rules file instructing the build system as to what should happen. So if I open that with, let's open that with Visual Studio Code. There we go. Don't need that. So we can see here, so this is taken from the upstream Debian. Laughs. Jarafu, yeah, well that's the other thing. Lack of air conditioning for sure. So this is taken from the Debian Salsa packaging for OBS, and this is the output after my script has like poked and prodded at it. So you know, you see adding the AGA stuff and the Ceph frameworks, and then here generating the man page. Here they build the OBS FFmpeg mux binary into the library path. So this is one patch that I'm keeping over. But they also, one of the patches that I've kept is changing the license file that's presented in the about box of OBS, and I'm thinking that's probably a real Debian thing, because you know they like to have the same license files used everywhere. I don't think this is important for my build and my testing, so I'll probably roll this one out as well at some point. So that's the rules file that instructs like the compiler and CMake to build the package, and then the other important one, you could argue more important, is the control file. So we make quite a bunch of changes to this. So here we have the build dependencies. So this is everything that OBS requires to actually be compiled, and again, this is my, in air quotes, fully loaded version, so I try to enable everything. Morning, King Egypt. How you doing? One thing I haven't put in here is the Sound.io libraries. I'm still not convinced that's of much value on Linux. It was really implemented for FreeBSD. So here you can see some changes I've made where in the OBS Studio package we add to the recommended packages the Qt6 QPA plugins and the Wayland plugins, and this is so that it actually works on X11 and Wayland. This package providing the XCB QPA plugin, which is essential, it turns out. So that was something I learned about Qt6 along the way. And then down here we've got this change where we're just installing the VLC libraries and plugins rather than all of VLC. And, you know, that's basically it, I think. I mean, there's a lot of changes that get made in here, and it's a bit fiddly to do in a scripted fashion. But what I'll be able to do is dump these Debian directories into Git branches, and I'll start maintaining them as like discrete branches, which will be a bit easier to manage rather than having a script that manipulates a bunch of stuff. So with that in mind, I think what we'll do is actually start up a VM and install an OBS 28 and see, first of all, does it install, and if it installs, does it run? Because the last time I tried it, it didn't run because it was missing the QPA plugins. So I pre-installed 3 VMs, and we'll start with the easiest one.
Thank you for the follow, HighPriest69.
Hello, HighPriest69. Welcome to the stream. Yes, King Egypt. It is a tad on the warm side, I agree. So, what did I create? I created an Ubuntu MATE 2004 VM. So, that's useful for testing. The Qt5 version still works, and the feature-reduced version still works. And then we've got Ubuntu MATE 2204. So this is for testing the new build with Qt6 on X11. And then we've got an Ubuntu 2204 build, which we can use to test the new build with Qt6 on Wayland. So those are the 3 VMs. So I think we'll start with the one with the fewest changes, which is the Ubuntu MATE 2004 build. I'll have to just... Hello? Did I not hit return? There we go. I'll just have to make sure this window gets pulled down. Here we go. Oh, I've done that thing where I drag the window around as it's loading, and it hates that. Okay, let's let's just be brutal about it. Let's just reboot the thing. My password is test, by the way. Right then, let's just reboot this one. We'll get a sensible display back, and then we'll install OBS and see what happens. And I'm hoping it's going to work, but there are no guarantees. I love how some of you are absolutely on it with the channel point redemptions when I do this stupid stuff. Right then, let's just make that a bit bigger. Okay, so apt add repository. This is my one, and it's going to be from Zombie. I highly recommend you do not use this PPA. Not because I'm worried so much about the quality of the packages inside it, but if you use OBS, this will install 28 beta 1, and if you're using any third-party plugins, it will absolutely break them. So that's why I'm suggesting, you know, steer clear until these plugins are all updated, and we'll take a little look later and see how many of the plugins have had updates so far. So let's apt Apt Install OBS Studio. So we should see. So this is looking like my package straight away. I can tell because you'll see a number of like video and audio codecs here, and that's as a result of these VLC plugins. And I can see there's Qt5 Wayland again. I'm not looking for Qt6 here, but I don't actually know if this version works at all. I've not tried it. So this is OBS 28 Beta 1 built with Qt5 and none of the new protocol support. Hello Dust, how you doing? Welcome. Hello Henrik. Thank you for bringing the interference all the way from the Nordics. I appreciate that. Yeah, good. I mean, you know, hot and uncomfortable and all the rest of it. No running water at home right now. That's fun. But, you know, surviving. Literally surviving right now. Right then, so let's see if this starts first of all. Oh, wow, that's an improvement. So, last night when I tested this, it segfaulted because it was missing the QPA plugin. So, this is the first time I've seen OBS 28 Beta 1 on 2004. So again, this is built with Qt5, not Qt6, because that's what Upstream have elected to do. We'll just cancel the wizards. And what you can also see here is the new default theme that is being shipped with OBS 28 called Yummy. We'll also see WebSockets 5 is built in by default now. So something I'll need to do in my install everything scripts is install the WebSocket for compatibility plugin, so that while things transition, both WebSockets work. Yeah, Dust. Yeah, the mains water pipe cracked upstream of us yesterday, so our village is dry. Yeah, so that's fun. Broken rabbit. Oh, yes, indeed, broken rabbit. Yes, yeah, making well, I know the girls have gone to the other side of town today, where there's a swimming pool, basically to like swim and shower and stuff. Right then, well, you know, at a cursory glance, this appears to work. How can I test that this is really working? I think the things we really need to do is add a browser source to make sure that works, because that's obviously something that... this is one of the new features as well. This is nice. So when you resize things now, you get all of these. I mean, I use a screen ruler. I literally have a pixel ruler that I overlay on the screen to do this, and now you don't need to, because all of this stuff is just displayed nicely. Yeah, here as well, Dust. So Dust says that OBS 28 Beta 1 has been much more performant on macOS, and they're super happy with that. Yeah, there's been a lot of under the hood improvements in the way that OBS uses the various display servers. So it's using EGL on Linux now, which that transition isn't complete yet, because things like enabling DMA buff haven't happened yet, but it's just going to continue to get better. But yeah, OBS 28. I mean, I haven't tested plugin compatibility yet, Dust. How have you fared with that? Yeah, this is a super nice feature, I think. Right, okay, so on macOS also had the window capture tech moved to better stuff too. Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? Because same in Linux land as well, including it looks like, I haven't experimented with this, but it looks like OBS can talk to Vulkan rendering directly. So I'm wondering if we're going to have the ability to pull frames directly off the GPU with Vulkan without having to use a third-party plugin at some point. Yeah, that's an important point as well. Yes, so the update to Qt6 means there's no 32-bit builds for anyone, in fact, and I think Windows 7 and Windows 8 are dropped as well. And older versions of Ubuntu, so 18.04 won't get an updated build either. Right then. Let's just have a look at the other sources that are in here, and let's click in the right window. Add a source. So this is fine. So what you'll notice is on Focal, Pipewire is disabled because the version of Pipewire available in 2004 isn't sufficient. But we do have Jack and Pulse. And pay attention to this because I'll explain. Maybe we can do the transition to Pipewire and test that. We could do that. So is there anything in here? Oh yeah, and here's our VLC sources. So that's still working. So this is the ability to use VLC's media framework to play media files and what have you. I don't use this myself, but I know some people really make heavy use of it. So it's good to see that this is all here and working following the changes that I've made in how that's packaged. All of this stuff is usual and typical. There's nothing special in here. Okay. We're not missing anything either. The important thing is I was making sure that we've still got window capture and screen capture via the traditional means. And, well, the new theme is working as well, even though this is Qt5. So, oh yeah, there's this new bit here where you can change your colors in the system. And then here was curious, if I go to advanced, obviously this is in a VM, so it doesn't have actual access to real GPUs, but I found it amusing that it does, the IO GPU does expose a FAPI acceleration, which I thought was, well, interesting. At some point in the future, I'm going to get into looking at the different ways you can do accelerated video support. Accelerated video encoding in Linux, because there is currently about 4 or 5 ways of doing it, depending on what GPU you have. And there's been some talk about recent improvements in AMD and Intel's implementations. So I thought we'll actually look at that and try and do it in an objective way. Create some lossless video and then encode it using all of the different things, and then use Netflix VMAF to actually assess the quality of the encode. Morning Zeb, how you doing? And Dust asks, got that AV1 support? Yes, the AV1 support is in the builds for 2204 and newer, not the 2004 release, I don't think. I haven't tested it though. All I know is that the necessary libraries are there at build time, but I haven't actually tested it yet. Because I haven't, at the moment, all I'm interested in doing is making sure that it runs. That was my big concern. So in a VM, it's kind of limited what I can do. It's interesting it's not showing up here, because I thought that AV1 was supposed to show up in the advanced output. So now you've asked that question, I am doubting myself, because if AV1 was available, it should be here. Okay, Dust. It might be because it's on a VM. It's something for me to test though. Yeah. Well, I have read the source code, Cherufu. But that's why I was expecting to see it when you've got the advanced flags turned on. But it could be a virtual machine thing. But as far as I understand it, that's all implemented through FFmpeg software anyway. So why would it be excluded in a VM? Well, I'll test it on hardware at some point. So I think for a first look, that's probably enough. I think I'm satisfied that that is, in air quotes, working. Let's see what happens here. So we've shut the thing down now. Just waiting. It's still shutting down. You'll notice that the prompt hasn't come back yet. Or has it? No, it hasn't. So this is all the startup logs. I did have a look at these after I manually made it work last night, and I saw everything I was expecting to see in here. But I think what we should do is move on. Why is this not coming back? That's weird. Okay, well, let's move on to testing. Let's test again on Ubuntu MATE. So this will be testing on X11, but this time with Qt6. So let's make sure. Yeah, I am aware of this dust. AV1 is dog slow. I was looking into this 2 months ago, and even my Threadripper couldn't do real-time AV1 encoding. I think it required like a dual Epic server or something. I think things are improving steadily, and obviously Intel's much maligned Arc GPUs have one standout feature, which is hardware AV1 encoding, which by all accounts is decent. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. The last real-time encoding numbers I saw, the only system I saw that could do 60 FPS 1080p AV1 was a dual Epic server. So, yeah, fun times. But Intel have got hardware AV1 in their Arc line of GPUs. It'll be interesting to see if Nvidia and AMD follow in their upcoming releases. Oh, I've done it again. Right then. My password is test, by the way. Right then. Right. Okay, so Dust says the RTX 30 series cards have support. I thought the RTX 30 series only have AV1 decode support, not encode support. I didn't think that they were able to encode. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you've spotted it. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's AV. Yeah, AVC HD. Yeah, not AV1. Yeah. Hello, Proton Beard. Good morning. Right then. Oh, beamed. Sorry, Proton beamed. Right then, let's get this installed here. So this is Ubuntu MATE 2204. In fact, I can't be. Oh dear, I've launched the wrong. There we go. Can't be doing with these light themes. Let's add the same PPA. Again, if you've just joined in and you've got an Ubuntu system, please do not enable this PPA on your computer. It will break your stuff. I am the maintainer of this PPA. I even put at the very top, this PPA will break your system. Don't use it. This is just for me to test and make sure stuff is heading in the right direction. Yeah, so Dust is talking here about AV1. Yeah, 1080p 60 Hz at 3.5 megabits is AV1 encoded on an Intel Arc GPU is looking about comparable to H.264 for 8 megabits. So that's pretty. It's looking hopeful. It's
Thank
looking
you
hopeful.
for the follow, Devi here.
Hello, Devi here. Is that how we're pronouncing that? That's how my assistant is pronouncing it. Welcome to the stream. I shall at some point be looking at enabling the hardware encoder support, though. The NVENC support and stuff like that exists in Ubuntu was originally down to work that I did a few years ago, because it was getting frustrating that wasn't there by default in Ubuntu. Right then, so we've added the PPA. Let's type in the right window. Do that. There we go. So this time we should see, here we go, look, we see the Qt6 GTK platform, QPAs and Qt6. So this definitely has got the right things packaged. Whether it's all the right things or not, it remains to be seen. Let's see how we go. And the reason I'm testing this is that I know that Ubuntu MATE is absolutely positively running Xorg. No ifs, buts or questions about it. So we're going to test here to make sure that this works on X11. And once that's done, we'll test it on Wayland using Ubuntu proper. Yes, this is the Chelsea Cucumber moment. It's the time to shine for Ubuntu MATE. So with that in mind, let's fire up OBS and see what happens. Well, that's encouraging because, again, it didn't segfault. So an improvement from my test last night. So we'll just cancel that. We'll maximize that window. So this looks the same. If we do an about box here, does it even tell us whether or not this is Qt6? It doesn't. You can tell it's my build though, because I tag it with the fully loaded bit here. So yeah, there's no hint that this is... Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what type of window that is, because it's not showing up as any time of modal because there's no controls on it. I'll have to investigate that. That could be a bug in Ubuntu MATE. That could be my fault. So, good morning, Noob of the Linux. How you doing? Hope you're well too. So, let's have a look at some of the sources. Let's make sure that browser sources work just as they did before. Here it is. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So that's new. So this dialogue that's popped up, I'm assuming that's on stream. Let me just have a look at the... yeah, it is. So this is effectively the Chromium Browser. Hang on, what's going on here? Is that off screen? Why can't I move these things? Okay, I just can't move that for some reason or other. This here is effectively the Chromium Browser inside of OBS, so the Chromium Embedded Frameworks. This is wanting to use the keyring manager, which in GNOME is Seahorse, to basically create a new key, because this is an empty VM, but to create the keyring to store passwords that I might use in the future. We'll just ignore that for the moment, because this is not necessary for the purposes of our testing. Let's hit OK. So this is curious, because I'm not seeing this render. So I wonder if that is a VM issue, because this was working when I was testing on hardware. So, in fact, I wasn't testing on hardware. I was testing in another VM at home. So I wonder why I'm not seeing the actual content of that. Could have a dependency missing somewhere. So let's just exit OBS and see if there's anything in the logs that give us any hints as to something I may have overlooked. Okay. That's me adding the browser source, and it doesn't seem to be kicking out any obvious errors, and that's me shutting down. I see there's a couple of messages here. That says, you're surprised that it didn't fully nope out. What are you surprised didn't fully nope out? Dust. I missed that. And Henrik says, there's a bit of a UX issue there. Most new users won't have any idea what a keyring is. Yeah, it's true. There is a way to override that. I may do that. I'll explain in just a moment. So, or what the consequences of forgetting the password is indeed, or if the dialogue will pop up again to give them more informed choice later. So all of those are good points, and it is possible to pass an environment variable in that says do plain text key store, and it will store any usernames and passwords without prompting you for that. It will just stick it in a dot file in the context of the embedded application. So in this case, it'll be in the OBS dot directories, which I may consider doing. Now, the other thing is that I don't think I've got Portal support installed. So we should probably install that and see what happens. Why are you surprised that Ceph didn't just die, Dust? I've not had any difficulties with it for a while. Oh, it says here. Oh, so that I have noticed. So if you see here, the crash detector has gone off in Ubuntu. I'm not going to send it because obviously this is a package from a PPA. Oh, okay. Now it's rendered. Okay. Okay, clearly not missing anything. I wonder if that's a bug. Like I say, this is the first beta. We could be up against all sorts of things. So yeah, I've not had any difficulties with Ceph. I mean, I think the thing we may do when we get to Wayland, because I'm curious to see if let's think. I'd have to authenticate with Twitch or something. But the service integrations, those were disabled on Wayland previously because that wasn't working. But it's possible that that might be working now. Although I have never seen it on Wayland before. So what we can also see here is we do have Pipewire support built in to this build, but we don't see Pipewire in the options here. And that's because when OBS started up, it actually goes and looks to see are there sockets for the different sound servers, and it looks for Pipewire, sees it's not there, and finds Pulse Audio, which is correct because in Ubuntu MATE 2204 I have it configured to use Pulse Audio, but we could potentially change that. Let's have a go at that. What could possibly go wrong? All I need is, not from this machine, but from my actual machine, I need my notes. So I use standard notes for my documentation, and in here, I'm not going to put this on screen because there's all sorts of stuff in here, but maybe I will once I've found it. What am I thinking about? Pipewire. Okay, there we go. So maybe I'll do this. This is going to be huge. Just one moment. So here we go. install Pipewire and remove Pulse Audio. So these were my documentation steps until I actually did the migration. I'm just going to, did I put that on screen? It's down, there it is. I'm going to just push this off to the side and actually follow these steps in the VM. And we'll migrate this Ubuntu MATE VM to Pipewire, reboot, and then start OBS and see if it detects the Pipewire stuff, because I don't actually know how complete the Pipewire support is in OBS 28, so we'll find out. So let's just do an update, make sure we've got the latest bits and bobs. We do. So what does it say here I need to install? Install GStreamer 1.0 Pipewire, Pipewire audio client libraries, and this is the key thing, Wire Plumber. Wire Plumber's the new hotness, so this is the thing that makes the magic happen. There used to be a different tool, it was called something like Pipewire Media something, and that's been superseded by Wire Plumber. And then we will apt-get remove GStreamer 1.0 Pulse Audio, Pulse Audio itself, and Pulse Audio modules, Bluetooth. There we go. So that is going to remove Pulse Audio. Gonna remove the Ayatana indicator sound. Okay, so I need to do some packaging updates in order to properly support this by the looks of it. Okay. The following packages were automatically installed that are no longer necessary. Sudo apt remove. Let's get rid of those ones. Okay. And I'm not going to install any of the Bluetooth codecs and stuff, because that isn't something we're going to be testing. So we'll reboot here and see what happens. But this is actually being useful already, because I can see I've overlooked something in the packaging of Ubuntu MATE that I'll need to fix. Morning, Tommy. How you doing? Hey, Takov. Welcome back. How you doing, mate? So Zeb asks an interesting question. Are there definite times when you use apt against apt-get? I went through a period since like 2016 when apt appeared. I went through a period of retraining myself to only use apt. And now I'm going through a period of retraining myself to only use apt-get. And the reason for that is I have found that apt-get is more accurate at resolving dependencies than apt. And I've not looked into why that is the case, but it absolutely is. So I've become a bit, I've lost some confidence in apt. So apt update, just to refresh the package repositories, fine. But if I apt-get install anything, if I install anything with apt, I always use apt-get now. Hopefully that answers your question. Removing things is fine. So did I reboot yet? I must have done, because my sound indicator has disappeared. So let's. Oh, I've done that on the host machine, not in the VM. Silly. Oh, hang on. Is this? Oh yeah, it is in the right place. There we go. Right then, let's just take a quick look at this. So this is on the machine again. We do a process tree. We should be able to see some things like, here we go. So you can see, here's the Pipewire daemon. Here's the Pipewire pulse compatibility, which provides a pulse socket, and here's wire plumber. So those are the three main things that we need. So there's that, and if we run OBS, let's see. This is, I'm curious to see, because I don't actually know if it works with Pipewire yet. I know that there is a Pipewire plugin, but if we look down here, let's see what we can learn. Audio. I wonder what that is. I wonder if that's talking to Pulse or Pipewire at that point. Let's keep looking, see if we can learn more. Whole bunch of stuff about translation. Here we go. Pipewire, no captures available. Okay, so it's detected Pulse again. So I need to go and take a look, because I know there's a very large pull request still open for Pipewire support in OBS. But this plugin exists, but I don't know what its purpose is. So I'll have to go and do some digging into that. So if we go back to OBS and we add a source, yeah, we don't see any Pipewire sources. We do continue to see Jack and Pulse, of course. Okay. Well, more investigation required. And does VLC still show up? Yes, it does. Okay. And that didn't crash. The way you know that this is working is if you go to add something and it falls over, you know you're missing a library. Right then. Okay, let's move on and test on Wayland with Ubuntu proper now. Apt oopsie. I'm not sure what you mean, Zeb. No, it's not Noob of Linux. Apt is part of the Apt upstream project. Mint created their own implementation of Apt, which is not compatible with the actual upstream version of Apt, which is part of the Apt tooling that comes from Debian. Oh, I see. I see. Yes, Seb. Right then, let's get on and test actual Ubuntu and see if this thing works on Wayland. So let's shut you down. Come down here and run Ubuntu 22.04. I'm not going to touch this screen until it's fully resized and what have you. I'll bring it on. Bring it down to the display area once it's settled. There it is. Okay. So, here we have proper Ubuntu. And if we just do settings, I think in about down here, we will see we're using Virtual and we're using Wayland. So, there we go. Let's go and install OBS and see what we get. So again, don't use this PPA. I'm not going to say it too many more times, but don't use this PPA. I'll let you know when things are not busted. And you can then come and play. I mean, feel free to play, but if you break your computer, you get to keep all the parts. So apt install. So OBS Studio. Oh gosh, typing. Okay. I'm just scanning. Okay, so I can see the Qt6 stuff, so I can see that the packaging is working fine. And there's the VLC bits. So Let's go. Let's see what happens. Oh, I wonder if the reason AV1 wasn't showing up is because the extra codecs aren't installed. No, that can't be the case, because AV1 is not license encumbered, is it? That's the whole point it exists. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Ooh, I nearly closed entirely the wrong window then. That would have been disastrous. Right, let's just go and close standard notes, because I don't need that on up here. Okay, let's run OBS again. And I reckon there's a reasonable chance this will crash. But it worked. Okay. Well, there we go. So let's say cancel to the wizard. And here is OBS 28 with Qt6 on Wayland. So let's add a browser source, because that's going to test things. Here we go. This is the same keyring thing. So Henrik, I think you're right. I think I'm going to have a little read about this. I mean, I'm seeing this because it's a fresh, brand new, clean install. And you know, there is no keyring. It's possible that other people would have been through this already because of, you know, having their system set up. Store password. Oh, here we go. So here it says store passwords unencrypted. That's something that we could do, because I can't imagine that, you know, having OBS sources in your key store is really what you want either. Loot it with stuff. And also, I don't recall using any browser sources where I need to authenticate. You usually get like a UUID string for your resource. So I see a few questions there. Let's just come back. Yeah. So it was Mint that created their fork. And have I got FFmpeg installed? In a fashion, yes. FFmpeg is installed because it's a fundamental component that's required by OBS. But the way that OBS utilizes FFmpeg is through the various libraries. So all the libraries are installed, although I think... Oh, no, we're running Ubuntu proper. Pardon me. So in Ubuntu MATE, FFmpeg, the command line tool, is installed by default, but I don't know if it is in Ubuntu. No, the command line tool isn't, but if we do apt search ab codec, you'll see that, you know, these bits, the actual libraries that power FFmpeg are installed. And this is what I was curious about. I was wondering, like, what's in the extra package and is open core. So this is all of that. These are all audio codecs. I don't see any mention of AV1 in there. Oh, it bloody is as well. Look, there it is. Right then, Dust. We might be able to unpick this. So let's install that package. And okay, well, let's install this. Let's see. We'll shut down OBS. And close that window. So what I have noticed is this. I saw this yesterday as well. That OBS is segfaulting when it exits. I'm not going to send these because it's a PPA package. So let's kill that and run it again. Don't send. Is it? Exit. Stay dead. Right, is it out of memory? Looks like it might be. Okay, let's try this again. So this time, what were we looking at before? We were looking at the encoder settings, weren't we? So let's click here, go to output, change it to advanced, and this still not there. Okay, well, more research required on my part, Dust. I thought that would unlock it, but apparently not. Container or container format doesn't output to. Yeah. Okay. Well, the good news is it works, as in the thing starts. So let's just have a look at some of the other questions that come in. So Takoff has a question. Takoff asks, so OBS fully loaded, installed and Twitch connected, and all Twitch docs appear and disappears on first start. And I'm not sure I follow, but I think I know what you're describing. OBS has a number of integrations. I think it's Restream, Twitch and YouTube. There might be another one, but I think those are the three. And what will happen is once you authenticate with Twitch, which you do... Do I want to do this on stream whilst I'm streaming? Probably not. In here, come on now. There we go. In here, you choose your streaming service. And, yeah, get stream key. Let's try that. There we go. So this is the integration that exists in OBS now. Well, I say OBS now, on Linux now. For Twitch and YouTube. So you put your credentials in here and it will automatically then launch a set or add docs here for Twitch chat, stream information and a few other bits and pieces, and it displays two as windows in air quotes, but they're docs. And what you can do is, if you imagine this is one of them, you can just pick them up and drop them somewhere. And those will then get saved in your current profile. So I have profiles here that I'm streaming from called Twitch. And when I switch to that profile, these browser docs open and are authenticated with my credentials. So yeah, if you actually dock it here, then you don't have to like add them every time. They will be there every time you open that profile and authenticated. So Ross Madness asks, do you plan on keeping up support for the special source version of the snap? No, I've stepped down from maintaining the snap because the confinement of snaps was preventing me from doing what I wanted to do. So I've been building a version of OBS which has a bunch of stuff enabled as a deb. I'm now offering to assist the OBS team with the maintenance of their version of OBS Studio in their PPA. This is part of my discovery process so that I can catch up with all that's new in OBS 28 and feed back some of what I've learned to that effort. And then, as I was showing earlier, I have a, if I just get to the right screen, I have this project here called OBS Fully Loaded. And this has a simple script. And what this will do is effectively create all of the stuff that was in the snap, but as a local install. So it installs my version of OBS Studio, and then when we get down the list here, a boatload of plugins to give you all of the good stuff that you need to do interesting things. So this is how I am tackling the I need OBS with all the bells and whistles. Hopefully that answers your question. And in fact, it was a timely question, because what I thought we could do now is actually go and look and see how many of these plugins are starting to get uplifted for Qt6. Not all of them will need changes. Anything that's got, you know, UI elements will. You're welcome, Ross. So, oh, okay. Okay, well, I was just catching up. So you had some difficulties doing that initial integration, Takov. I've not seen that. What I have seen is that after a period of time, the authentication, the OAuth to Twitch expires, and those docs become unauthenticated, and you need to reauth in order to, you know, make them effective again. I think that's fine. I think that's like behaving as intended. So at this point, all three versions work. I don't see that there's any packaging mistakes. So I think what I've learned, I'll now feed back to the official maintainer of OBS and Ubuntu, because I have found some additional packages that need to be in the dependencies. So I'll feed that back, or figure out where I can submit pull requests to tidy that up. But I think now I'm interested in having a little look at the OBS plugin activity to see which of the plugins are already being updated to support Qt6. And, oh gosh, I'm just thinking, well, my brain just wandered then. So here I have this: download these deb files, blah blah blah, download these zip files and install them. I think what I'm going to need to do is put conditionals in to say if OBS 28 or newer. Oh gosh, it's even more complicated than that, isn't it? That isn't actually the conditional. The conditional is, does this OBS Studio use Qt6? So I need a way to craft that conditional. So if Qt6, then these are the versions of the plugins. Otherwise, these are the versions of the plugins. So this will need adapting. So I think we can do that after we've done the install of OBS. We could probably just do an LDD against the OBS binary and look for Qt6 in the results. And if it was linked against Qt6, then, you know, that's our conditional to determine which versions of the plugins we install. Anyway, with that, let's take a look. Face Tracker. I haven't actually shipped this in my bundle of plugins, but let's see what their recent changes. Update to support both OBS 27 and 28. Okay, so if we... Oh, so this guy's quite prolific actually in OBS and as a plugin author. So let's see what we've got here. 23 hours ago. Do we have multiple? We do. Look at that. So look, we've got here OBS 27. We have debs for... Oh my. See, look, the plugin authors are going to have to do so much more work now. Look at that. Having to build... So we can accommodate this though. We can work with this. That's fine. So there's one that, well, not I've ever shipped it. But it's a cool plugin. I've seen videos of it. Oops. What am I? Hang on. Go back. So, color monitor. Okay, so this is from the same author. Again, this is not one that I've shipped. It's not the sort of thing that I need. However, OBS Websocket we probably need to see what the state of the compatibility module is in this. Yeah, WebSockets is included. Well, so that's kind of true. The new version of the WebSocket is included, but that's not necessarily compatible. So if we look at the releases here, here it is. Does not use the same protocol. There we go. So 491 compat. So I think when we'll need to make sure that this is installed. So there's going to be quite a lot of logic in my little script to actually handle the upgrade process now. But this is clearly very important, and it's good to see that this is ready to work with OBS 28. So let's continue down our list of stuff here. Windows, that's a Windows thing. Tuner, well that will totally need updating because I don't use it, but this is quite cool if you want to do Spotify integrations. What's their recent update about? Nothing to do with Qt though. But this is, I would have thought this, maybe it doesn't, maybe it just uses the Qt. So I'll have to investigate that one because I was thinking of bundling that. OBS GStreamer, this is terrific. If you've got an AMD GPU on Linux, this gives you access to very good quality and high efficiency encoding on AMD GPUs, among other things. So this update was nothing to do with Qt, but then again, it shouldn't need it. That should all be using the standard dialogues, as in OBS's own stuff. Pipewire audio capture. So this is interesting. I need to investigate this one. This is written by the same author that's landing this plugin in upstream OBS. So I need to do some research to figure out what's changing. And I can now see that these haven't changed since July the 13th. And I'm pretty certain that a lot of Xeldro's plugins are due to get updated this week, and he's probably the most prolific plugin author. And this one is, you know, I would consider critical for all OBS users, but I know that this one hasn't been updated. The question is whether it needs to be updated or not. I think I'm just going to have to test some of this stuff. So how could we do that? Let's do this. Let's bring up this. Let's bring up Ubuntu MATE. I'll just let the VM display settle, and then I'll drag it into here. I'm thinking we just run the script and see what is broken. So, oops, that was the wrong button. So we'll install Git. We'll git clone my project. Is it just, well, I can't even remember the name of my own project. I think that's it. There it is. So what we'll do is we'll just comment out the bit that installs OBS. And this bit as well. So we don't want to add the official, my, quotes, official PPA. We don't want to install OBS, but we will let it do all of these things. And then we'll see what carnage that creates. Okay then. So this is unchanged from a couple of weeks ago. And Phil has a question here. Phil says, have you tried their CI? Not yet. I have referred to it in terms of like making sure I'm using the right tooling and versions of things. But I am going to. There's a bit of a disconnect. I can see where their CI processes have influenced like what's in the PPA, but there's some stuff in their PPA that I can't correlate to anything in their CI/CD. So I'm missing some knowledge there, and I'll be making inquiries. But I'm going to have a go at that as well. But I wanted to go through this process because the Debian packaging doesn't just bundle the whole thing together as a fat deb. It actually splits the package in a Debian way and prescribes in the install files precisely which plugins go where. The advantage stroke drawback of that process is when new plugins appear, the Debian build process fails and says, well, now you've got files that aren't installed anywhere. But that was actually quite good for me because it highlighted that the Pipewire plugin had shown up, for example, and needed to be handled. So you can use that process to actually like check that you're finding everything in the build process and handling it correctly. And also things that went away. I noticed that some of the plugins that were in the last version were disabled to an off state and so weren't being built, and I had to add stanzas to say make sure you build these things. Right then, let's see what happens if we try and start OBS now. I think it's going to be carnage. I think this is going to just be really bad. There we go, segfault. NDI, that I am not at all surprised by. So, let's remove, what was that? Well, let's just do grep NDI. What was that package? OBS NDI. So this is now a game of whack-a-mole to remove things to see which of these actually break OBS and which do not. Right, what was that one? That was the yeah, this is the one that does the advanced auto scene switching. So let's just grep for morning Big Pod, how are you doing? Was that that's a zip file. Okay. Oh, I do apologise for all of the beeping noises I make due to my shoddy typing. So, plugins. Here we go. So, we'll get rid of the advanced scene switcher and start up OBS again. Which one was it that time? Looks like it might have been downstream here. Okay. Let's go again. No, and oh yeah, the scene collection manager, that's definitely gonna break it because that adds new UI elements. Okay. Now, most of these so far have been Exeldro's, and I know that he's planning to do updates soon, and the scene note docs also make sense, but that wouldn't work.
Thank you for the follow, Sammy_Sam.
Well, hello Sam. Welcome to the stream. What was this one? This was scene notes. I wonder if we're going to get this up at all. Source copy, again, that's one of Xeldro's, and again, that uses UI elements, so I can understand. Source copy. And source doc. Also Xeldro's. Transition table, also Xeldro. So all of these, I'm thinking, yeah, I can understand why these don't work. They all have UIs. These will all be things that, you know, these are pre-built binary versions of plugins compiled and linked against Qt5, and this version of OBS is using Qt6. So it makes complete sense that this would cause them to crash. Oh, we got closer that time. We don't know what caused the fail this time, though. It could be any of them at that point. Okay, I think I've run out of rope of easily identifying what the what module caused the fail. Let's try and guess. So this is what we've got left. I don't think it's NVFBC, and that wouldn't be an issue in the VM anyway. Let's try and find one that looks... It could be... No, that's all done in the UI of the thing. Let's try the least important ones first. Let's try virtual cam filter, because I've never used that. Nope, it wasn't that one. Let's try stream. It could be Stream FX. There's quite a lot of stuff in there. Oops. No. I can't think which else. Source switcher. Source switcher. I'm trying to think of the ones. Oh, OBS. OBS teleport could be. Well, I tell you what, let's do this. Let's do... Let's move all of those plugins to plugins 27. And if it doesn't start now, it's not one of those plugins that's at fault. It's one of the devs. There we go. So let's have a little think. This is a terrible way of doing this, but oh. Oh, the website with the WebSocket, that'll definitely have stuff in it. OBS transition table. Okay. Soundboard, that would definitely be a candidate. Okay. We've got quite a lot here we need to deal with. Well, okay. I'm not gonna debug all of these now, but you get the idea. What I now need to start doing is like whitelisting which ones of these are compatible with OBS 28 and which ones are compatible with OBS 28 for Qt5 or Qt6, and update my little script accordingly. Let's have a look here. Big Pod says, "Oh, are you starting your vacation today, Big Pod? If so, have a good one." Please debug now. We have time. Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's get rid of this one. Well, that's going to be fine. The soundboard, I think, is a... That's definitely got a UI. Ah. And what else have we got left here? So the advanced scene switcher we don't have installed. Interesting, those are available now. I need to go and check because I think Debbie and Sid has got some of these packaged. OBS command source. We'll remove that as well. And multi-source effect. And OB or OBS. Okay, what have we got left? Pulse Audio App Capture. I haven't actually tested that, but that sounds like a really cool plugin to do like per application audio sources, which negates the need for all of my funky audio configuration. And we'll get rid of that one as well. OBS VNC. That definitely has UI elements. Right, let's see. Is it going to work now? Aha! There we go. So one of those was a problem, or all of them were. So if I do this and add, is there any new? There's not seeing the gradient stuff in here. That's curious. So I don't see many in here at all as it happens. Oh, because we've disabled them all, didn't we? Right. So let's just do that. Okay, all of those then work. So I should now have things like color source, DVD, GStreamer, gradient, so a whole bunch of plugins, spectralizer, so a whole bunch of them have turned up, text pango, so that's good. So I should probably close down OBS and make a list that all of those are compatible, which is a good start. So we'll do that and we'll output that to we'll copy that to oh no, I can't do this from the VM, can I? Maybe I can. Yeah. Well, I will take that as that's my working set. So that's the working set that are not installed as debs. So let's go and have a look at the script again now. So I'm starting on Monday. Okay. So Big Pod says, would you buy an Intel GPU? I'm intrigued by its encoder. I would only buy an Intel Arc GPU to experiment with its AV1 encoder. that is the only thing I'm interested in it for at the moment. So yeah, if you like fiddling around with video encoding, yes. If you don't care, then no. But yeah, I'm interested in that. I'm interested to see where the AV1 encoders go with the NVIDIA and AMD cards that are coming up. And Ross Madness says, any plans for Little Spy 2 Electric Boogaloo? It's a really good question. I mean, I don't have any immediate plans to write Little Spy 2, but I did enjoy, I mean, that was a game jam thing, so that was 2 weeks, write a game. And I was pretty happy with the results after 2 weeks of effort, you know, learning Godot and writing the game. All things considered, I think it turned out pretty well. If I was to do a Little Spy 2, that would be the only thing I'm working on in all of my available spare time. And I would be doing it for more than 2 weeks. You know, if I was going to write Little Spy 2, I'd actually want to like make it a more complete game, as in a full game. So I'd love to write another game. If I'm honest, the game I was thinking of making next was a bullet hell shoot 'em up. And I wasn't going to write it. I was going to use one of the dev kits to make one. But I mean, I do think about it. I mean, I did play it recently again, just to sort of take another look at it. And I have to say, I was like, yeah, this was all right. But then I looked at the code and I couldn't remember any of what I'd done, because it was literally 2 weeks of just doing this. And when you do things like really compressed like that, those things that you learn tend to fall out of your brain just as quickly. So I looked at the code and I was like, I'm glad I put comments in, and I'm glad I've got the dev log, because it helps fill in some of the gaps. But I would have to learn Godot again. I feel like I'd have to, you know, do that. Little Spy 2 now in 3D. Yeah, I know for sure I wouldn't tackle a 3D game at this point. I know that there is so much more to learn in Godot to make a better 2D game that would then be useful in writing a 3D game in the future. So I wouldn't do a 3D game now. I'd do another 2D game, but use more of the particle physics and the other stuff you can juice up, the special effects. And, you know, just learn more of what Godot can do before tackling a 3D game. So I'm upgrading my wife's computer. It's going to be AMD. Oh, well, that's the perennial problem. Buy now or wait until later. I mean, that's impossible to answer because we don't know what the next batch of CPUs are going to be like. If you don't need a computer until January the 23rd, you may get away with waiting. My understanding is that reviewers have been sent samples of the new AMD CPUs. So I expect we will see reviews sometime this month. The rumours are AMD are going to launch the CPUs by the end of August. because they want to steal the march on Intel. So you might not have to wait long to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, the 3000 series, 5000 series CPUs are very decent. Right then. Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? That whole Windows 10 upgrade not working. Yeah, I've been there with someone lives in the village. Right then, live with the crushing disappointment. Yeah, that's good advice, King Egypt. Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested. I'm obviously interested in the next batch of things. I think I'm going to sell lots and lots of my stuff and build a new machine for home that's a bit more modest and manageable heat and power, because those days are gone of, you know. And also it'll be interesting to see what the power requirements are of new CPUs and GPUs, because I feel like Intel and Nvidia are not thinking like a bit tone deaf to the state of the world right now in terms of environmental impact and cost of power. So as for Little Spy, I don't know. And if anyone is here watching this thinking, what the heck is Little Spy? Well, let's just go and fill in the blanks. About this time last year, and it was about this time last year, I wrote a computer game. For the first time in a long time. Oh, I managed to close the browser. That was foolish, wasn't it? Oh, there it is. I took part in a game jam. It was a 2-week long game jam over the summer, and I wrote a game called Little Spy, and it is somewhere here. Here it is. I'll actually go to the itch page because that's probably a bit more useful. There we go. So it's available on itch, and it's available for everything. It works on Linux, Windows, Mac OS, Android, and the web. And the web version runs on iPhones and iPads and all sorts of things. And it's got touchscreen controls built in, as you can see from these screenshots here. And I documented it all. And this is where you can play the game. And here is the source code. So if you want to go and grab it, all the source code and assets are in here, and I documented my whole process of how I went about it. And the theme of this game jam was free, so I decided to use all public domain freely accessible assets, game engines, code, and I licensed the whole thing under an MIT license. So everything's available here. You can have a play, or inspect the source code, or fork it and make Little Spy 2. Although I'd probably start from scratch if I made another Little Spy. I think I learned a lot, and towards the end of the jam, time was tight and it all got a bit messy, so I'd probably start over if I was doing a new one. Right, okay. So I've worked out a whole bunch of stuff that does work. I think now we could quickly... no, that'll do. I think I've got a good starting point. I think I can start to adapt my script that installs plugins. Maybe that's the next stream, is start to adapt that script to work with 28. So we can start to provision an OBS 28 system with plugins and stuff, and see how close to what I need is available. Because if I can get the essential stuff going, I may make the switch and start using it to really see where the rough edges are. And I see there's a couple other questions here. So let's have a look. Sorry, I've missed this up here. Gosh. Yeah. So, Proton Beam says quite a lot of my friends are doing the same. I'm guessing you're referring to my selling a whole load of stuff to buy something more, or build something more power and heat efficient. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a thing. You know, energy prices are skyrocketing. The heat that these things produce is ungodly. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. And I think there's enough residual value in... I mean, it's not like it's... thank goodness it's not like it was, you know, this time last year where the prices were absolutely mental, even for second-hand stuff. You know, if you sell things on the second-hand market, they sell for second-hand prices now. But there's enough residual value there that, you know, you can sell that and put that towards building a new thing. And Proton Beamed also says, if a game jam doesn't get messy, is it a real game jam? Yeah, I tried really hard to keep it not a mess. I was trying to avoid singletons, and in the end it was just like, nope, we're going to have a singleton to keep game state across all of these classes. It just got a little bit, oh, just chuck it in. And some of the special effects, I looked at the code for the dash maneuver, which leaves a sort of a sprite trail. And I was looking at it, I was like, I have no idea how I did that. I don't understand what I made. Hello, Athiel, welcome back. How you doing? Right then. So, I responded to the state of the world by switching to using laptops. Yeah, so one of the main reasons I don't use laptops in the office is because my eyes now. The screens aren't... I can have nice big fonts and have nice big screens, and I can see what I'm doing. And on a laptop, when I bump up the font sizes, even on high resolution displays, I feel like I'm really boxed in and I haven't got enough screen space. So I only use laptops on the go. And in fact, I'm probably going to sell all of my laptops. I'd really like a framework, but I really want them to do one with an AMD CPU. And unless they do that, I don't see that I'm going to buy one. Hello! Terminal theme. I've seen people do this before. So welcome, Ganit AK. So you were asking to do this prompt here, terminal theme. It's not the terminal theme, but I'm going to have to look at some of these commands and make some of these work, because I've seen people do this. This is my OBS, my Visual Studio code, and this is the Yaru theme. The Yaru theme being the theme for the Ubuntu desktop. So there's a Yaru theme for OBS Studio, and that's what you're looking at now. My terminal themes, well, that's a bit more complicated. I use Cool Retro Term when I'm streaming, just to add a little bit of visual interest whilst I'm in the terminal here. But I use the fish shell, and this is one of the fish shell color themes with I think it's called Bob the Fish, and it's a powerline theme for the fish shell. So there you go. Sorry I didn't have a way to automatically answer that, but I saw you ask and I thought I'd fill you in. And this LS here isn't LS, this is LSD. So LSD is LS Deluxe. You can get it on that there GitHub, and it's a very pretty LS. So there you go. There's some show and tell for you. Thank you for asking. Welcome. Right then. Yeah, the Macs are very, very, very pretty. and very nice. I'm not going to get one because, you know, Linux. That's where I'm comfortable. God, is these seriously? Are these commands bash rc? So I don't use bash, so that wouldn't tell you anything useful. That would return dev null. But they're good ideas. I have been updating some of the commands I've got, so I'll have a look at some of those. That's not a bad idea. Theme, terminal theme. I'll do something to respond with those. Gain it. That's not a bad idea. Yep, and Phil correctly points out that, you know, if you want all of this stuff, debget install LSD. So if you're on an Ubuntu or Debian system, you can install these modern Unix tools using debget. Yep, and yeah, BAT is among those tools in debget as well. So, for example, if we do I'm not on a VM, am I? So let's do.
Thank you for the follow, Therapt.
Hey, Therapt. Hello, welcome to the stream. If we just do cat the script that I was just looking at earlier, you'll see that this is actually using BAT, and therefore we get, you know, colorized cat. And then some of the other ones that I've got are things like I wonder if oh yeah, I was fiddling around in OBS Studio, wasn't I? So I think I've got an outstanding commit here. No, I haven't. I've committed it. Wonder if I've got an outstanding commit somewhere. Probably not. OBS fully loaded, maybe? No, it's all clean. Well, anyway, I've got Git Delta installed, which does side-by-side colorized diffs. It's very nice. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff. Go and have a look at debget. It's good. Right then. Sudo bin bash. Henrik, cut it out. I could do sudo make me a sandwich though. We could have that one. Getting ideas now. Right, okay, so let's just recap. What have we got? We've got a build system that builds OBS. It publishes it in PPAs. We've tested it on 2004, 2204, Qt5, Qt6, Wayland, X11, and it works. We've found some of the plugins that continue to work without modification on OBS 28, and we've found some that require modification. So I think, what is it today? It's Tuesday today. Maybe tomorrow we'll have a little look at starting to structure the little OBS install script to start provisioning an OBS 28 system that has as many useful plugins as we can muster. And that's what we'll do tomorrow morning. Yeah, that's what we'll do tomorrow. And then that brings us to Thursday. So I may stream on Thursday this week, because I definitely won't be streaming on Friday, because I am not around on Friday. So I may stream tomorrow and Thursday. Well, I'll definitely stream tomorrow, and I may stream Thursday. We'll see how we go. I do need to get back to some Ubuntu MATE stuff, though, as well. But the truth of it is, I like messing about with OBS Studio. It's lots of fun, so I'm drawn to working with it. The on-screen chat removed that. Oh yes, I think the chat doesn't show the commands. Yeah, that's mostly so. There are commands that are for all of you, and you learn by being here. They're not advertised to the the watchers after the fact. So yeah, the commands that you see, like this one for example, this command is in the the chat rules. Type that and it tells you what we're doing today, for example. So there you go. That's Bang Sup. So there we go, that's in there. And there's a few others like that. And there's this as well. If you're using Telegram, there you go, do that. Get notifications and stuff. Right, Duff is also, yeah, Duff is in debget as well. It's all there. All the modern Unix stuff is in there, including the micro text editor, which, dare I say, it could be better than Nano, but I refuse to learn new key bindings. I have the chat filter on. Yeah. Yeah. Right then. Let's go and have a look over here. So, what about Baby? I remember that. Isn't that that's Nano? That's a Nano equivalent, isn't it? Written in Python, I think. I think that's what Baby is. Because if you type Nano, N-A-N-O, on a QWERTY keyboard, Baby is Nano shifted by one character. Right then, I'm just looking to see who's doing what this morning. It's always so here we go. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Right then, we will go here. They're growing quickly. Good for them. Oh, they're doing their thing again. Cool. Right, let's go. Let's go over here. We're going to go and join Adam Elmore, who is working on their own custom Twitch overlay. And it looks like they've got their AI overlaid glasses working or something. So, again, it's like OBS related stuff. So, a continuation on the theme of this this today. Hang on a minute, I typed the wrong thing entirely. Did you see what I did there? That went in chat, didn't it? Let's try that again. Type the right sequence of characters. So thank you all very much for coming, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow morning and probably Thursday as well, and I'll be streaming on Slim DevOps as well on Thursday. But we're going to go and see Adam and his custom OBS stuff. It looks well nifty. So bye for now. See you in the next one. Bye bye.